Now, the roads claimed dozens of lives this long weekend. We're told more than 30 people were killed in 5 major accidents across the country. The Road Traffic Management Corporation believes that many of the accidents could have been avoided. In studio with me is Automobile Association of South Africa's spokesperson, Layton Beard. He's of course going to talk about road liability and culpability. But before we get into that, Layton, when we look at the statement that has been issued by the RTMC saying that many of the accidents could have been avoided if people were more considerate and responsible. It speaks to the attitude of drivers. How crucial is that in preventing accidents?
I think it's essential. I think when you talk about attitude of drivers, you're talking about what are the conditions of their vehicles in. So do they take enough responsibility for the tires on those vehicles? Do they take enough responsibility for ensuring those vehicles are roadworthy? So that's where it starts. But then once they're on the road, are these drivers, and I'm not only talking about taxi drivers here, I'm talking about motorists in general, are the motorists putting their cell phones down, or are they looking at them and texting on them and talking on them? I've driven past people myself on the highways where they're actually texting on an iPad. Are they eating? Are they putting on makeup or a tie? In other words, are they distracted? So these are some of the things that we're obviously concerned about. But besides that, are they obeying the rules of the road? Are they driving at the speed limit? Are they overtaking where they should be overtaking, or are they crossing on a solid white line? These all speak to the attitudes of drivers in South Africa. And we've said it before and we'll say it again. The results from this Labour long weekend came out now. I think the Department of Transport said something like 237 fatalities after 179 crashes. I think that speaks to the poor attitude that drivers in South Africa have.
What is it that you think as drivers we're not getting about the distractions that perhaps keep our eyes or take our eyes off the road, which is where we need to be looking? I
think a lot of people think that it won't happen to them. I'm immune, I can do what I want, and I'm going to be fine. And I think too few people understand that it can happen to them. When it comes to people who drive taxis or buses or whatever, they need to realize that they have the lives of 15, 20, 30, 40 people in their hands. So it's a very serious responsibility. When you're driving with your family in your car, you have the lives of 3 or 4 other people in your hands as well. It's a very serious responsibility. You have to understand that if you don't take that seriously, there are severe consequences and it can happen to you. I think to a large extent South Africans don't obey the laws, the rules of the road, because one, they don't feel that it's going to happen to them, and maybe, unfortunately, there aren't enough consequences to the actions that follow. So court dates or appearing in court or going to prison for these types of things, people don't think that that's going to apply to them either.
What are some of the irritations that we see motorists having, whether it's being stuck in traffic or whatever the traffic situation is at that time, that leads to a risky behavior and risky decisions on the roads? People
want to get to their destination quicker than the next person. So they are racing to get down to wherever they are going. They are racing to get to work. They are racing to get home. And if there's any delay in that journey, they become incredibly frustrated. We saw this morning on the road from Pretoria to Johannesburg, or Johannesburg to Pretoria, on the northbound carriageway, where we had the protest by the Sunroll workers or the Teti workers. People that were coming out of that, and I drove past it, people that were passing those people were really speeding as they came out of that. So that's obviously a big frustration. People don't want to be stuck in traffic. We tell people that they must maybe alternate their routes to work or alternate the times that they leave for work. Maybe that can cut down on the time that you're going to spend in traffic. Unfortunately, being stuck in traffic is a reality, especially in big centres like the Western Cape or the Eastern Cape or Gauteng or KwaZulu-Natal, the big city areas. It's something that you need to learn to live with. We tell people constantly, you need to be calm in the car, you need to be courteous to other drivers, and if there is a delay, it's something that you unfortunately just have to accept, live with it, deal with it, and then once you're through it, still obey the rules of the road. It's not a free-for-all after that.
Just very briefly, on the issue of culpability, do you think that the traffic system as it is has harsh enough consequences for those who break the law, and therefore also then creates room for motorists to engage in this risky behavior because they think, oh, I'll just get a ticket, it's not so bad?
Yeah, the laws are there and they are being applied, but I think in our opinion they need to be applied more evenly, or maybe they need to be applied more. What we also find is that that there are a lot of traffic officers that are stopping people at on-ramps and off-ramps and ticketing them for expired license discs or things like this, when really they should be monitoring what happens on the actual road itself, because this is where the moving violations are occurring and this is where the accidents are happening.
All right, that's where we leave it for this afternoon. Thanks for those insights. Of course, he speaks on behalf of the Automobile Association of South Africa, Layton Beard.